Today I'm going to be talking to you guys about 10 different fragrances that are loved now, at least by the majority of people, that were hated when they first came out. Hey friends, Ash here with gentsscents. Hope you're doing well. Now when I say that a fragrance was hated when it came out, I don't mean by every single person on earth, obviously. I just mean that when they came out, there was a pretty significant backlash that over time, as people smelled the fragrance and bought the fragrance, went away. So let's go ahead and jump into it and check out these fragrances that went from hated to loved. And all of these fragrances are newer fragrances. They come out within the last 10 years or so. Now, nothing here from the 50s, because believe it or not, I was not alive in the 50s to see how the reaction initially was. First up, Bleu de Chanel from Chanel. Now, a lot of people may look at this and be like, nah, man, Bleu de Chanel, that fragrance everybody has always liked, or at least the masses of people. But there was a significant backlash when this very first released by people who didn't really get it. They were like, Chanel, why are you coming out with this? It smells like shower gel. You need to be hitting us with those classic masculine scents. Not this. It has citrus, ginger, incense, and woods, and Bleu de Chanel at this point, everybody knows. Seems like almost everybody owns it, everybody wears it. It speaks for itself, and it really helped kick off that whole blue fragrance wave that we're still riding today. Now, that's one thing you'll notice as we work through this. A bunch of these are blue type fragrances. When scents come out that are made for mass appeal, seems like a bunch of times people reject it. At least people in the fragrance community. They reject it. And then as more people smell it, everyone goes, wait, what are you talking about? This is actually really good. How can you hate this? And that was this one, Bleu de Chanel. A bunch of people did not appreciate where Chanel was going with that one, and over time, they've been proven wrong, at least in terms of success. Next up in the list, Creed Viking. Now, the reason this one got a lot of hate is obvious when you look at the bottle. It's designed in the Aventus style. And when this was first announced, everybody was thinking, okay, Viking, this is the next Aventus. Or at least that's what a lot of people were hoping for, what a lot of people were wishing for. And then when the fragrance came out and it smelled like a modern take on Old Spice, admittedly a higher end take on Old Spice, a lot of people were not pleased. And I think that's because a lot of guys out there were wanting to spray this on and have the same reaction they had when they smelled Aventus, which is just, holy crap, what is this? It's easy to think now, oh, Aventus, yeah, that DNA is everywhere. When it first came out, whew, yeah, that was some stuff. So when people got this in, sprayed it on, and got hit by a really nice smelling Old Spice kind of scent, a lot of people were not impressed. Now over time, people have grown to really enjoy it, and people have grown to appreciate it for what it is and what it can do. But when it first came out, nah, not so much. Now this next fragrance, a lot of you might look at and go, wait, hate? Nobody hated on that. But they did. It is Prada Loam. When Prada Loam was very, very first released, this one caught a bunch of flack. People were saying, oh, Prada Loam, it's basically a crappier version of Prada Amber. Who cares about it? Because I can remember vividly when this came out. I was really excited to get it, thought the bottle looked really slick, and I like Prada fragrances. They're clean, they're fresh, soapy, easy to wear. So I was excited for it. And I remember seeing the first reviews rolling in on it and going, man, is it really that boring, that bad? Then I got it in and I thought to myself, no, this stuff is great. Super versatile, easy to wear, people love it. More modern than Prada Amber, and I do like Prada Amber, don't get me wrong, but more modern than that, more wearable. But a lot of people, and this happens sometimes, didn't really give this a fair shake at first because it was in a similar style, similar vein of Prada Amber, and a lot of times people don't like to see those DNAs get modernized. They don't like to see, the new thing come in and the old thing go out. And that's what happened with Prada Loam. Caught a whole bunch of hate. Then over time, it has increased and increased and increased in popularity to the point that now, if you bring up office fragrances, you say, hey, what's a good fragrance to wear to the office? That one's gonna be one of the first 3 mentioned. Guess what? It's time for another blue fragrance, Dylan Blue from Versace. When this first came out, people loved to hate it because this was viewed as another cash grab, another terrible blue fragrance. Who needs it, you know? We already have Bleu de Chanel, we already have this, that, and the other blue fragrance. Why do we need another one from Versace? That was the reaction. But in reality, this is very solid, kind of slots somewhere between Bleu de Chanel and Dior Savage. It does its own thing. Yeah, it takes, you know, a familiar path to get where it's going, but it's really well done. Bergamot, incense, ambroxan, aquatic notes. It's got a little bit in there to give it some depth, so you can wear it in cooler weather if you want, but it's also fantastic in warm weather. Big compliment puller, and from discounters, not all that expensive. There's a lot to love about Versace Dylan Blue, and yet when it first came out, people did not care for it. And I really do think with Dylan Blue, it helps that it's a well-known house like Versace, and that from discounters it's not too expensive, and that it's super versatile. That means lots of guys can buy it and experience it and wear it and get great use out of it. This next one is from Cartier, and it's L'Envol de Cartier. This is an amazing scent. Absolutely love it. And when I first bought this, I was not immediately impressed. It's got honey, iris, gaiac wood, and violet leaf. And this is one that I bought brand new as soon as it came out. I sprayed it on, and I thought to myself, it's all right. Just sat it down, you know, put it in the collection and pretty much forgot about it. And then legitimately 1 or 2 years later, I picked it up again, sprayed it on, and I just was mind blown. How have I not been wearing this? What was I thinking? And I think that was the same reaction a lot of guys had. When that first came out, a bunch of people thought, nah, too feminine. Doesn't really work for me. Performance isn't there. Not up to the standards of Cartier. A lot of people were crapping on it. Now, I'll admit there were a good amount of people giving it love when it first came out too, but it was kind of divisive, you know, kind of a 50-50 scent. And over time, I feel like a lot of people did what I did, and they revisited it and realized this is solid. The honeyed sweetness in that, especially in the opening, is fantastic. If you've never smelled it, absolutely check it out. It is good stuff, though it will probably appeal more to somebody middle-aged and up than it will somebody very young. Now, excuse my bottle on this next one, because my bottle is not good looking. You'll see what I'm talking about. It's from Yves Saint Laurent, and it is Y Eau de Toilette. And the Y is missing. The reason this bottle is so beat up is because I bought it secondhand, and the Y was already kind of dinged up, and then over time it just fell off. So I'll eventually get another one just because I don't really like the way it looks, but the fragrance is the same. So the reason this got hated on is a lot of the same reasons that Versace Dylan Blue got hated on. A blue wearable type fragrance made for mass appeal, made for versatility. Yves Saint Laurent comes out with a new line. Everybody gets excited. Oh, I wonder what it's gonna be. And then it's this, a little blue scent. Like Prada Loam, it is fantastic for office wear. It's great for daytime wear, great for casual use, very versatile. People love the way it smells. And then you had the Eau de Parfum that came after this, which just absolutely blew up. And really, you could put the Eau de Parfum on this list too. A lot of people hated on that when it came out, but that very quickly took off because people realized how much of a compliment monster it was. Y Eau de Toilette took a lot longer for people to come around on. Now, this next fragrance was not a big hit like Prada Loam or Bleu de Chanel or Dylan Blue, but it has a nice little following. It's Le Male Essence de Parfum. This one has leather, lavender, vanilla, cardamom, and tonka as some of the notes in the fragrance. I love the bottle. I love what they did with the Le Male torso, making it all angular and modern looking. It's great. The fragrance itself did not get a lot of love initially. This one was crapped on pretty much right away. That happens with a lot of Le Male flankers. Some of them deserve it, for sure, but others are really good, even though it gets boring seeing a Le Male fragrance followed by another, and 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 another. Jean Paul Gaultier, come on, get with it. We don't need another Le Male. We need a new line. Anyway, this one has a great leather note with vanilla and lavender, tying it in together with the original Le Male. It is more grown up, more mature, more sophisticated, more mysterious, and retains that sexy feel that the original has. This one has grown on me a lot over time, and this one kind of fell by the wayside. Came out, people talked about it briefly, and then that was it. But the people that have smelled it since it came out and the people that stuck with it after it came out have grown to really, really like this one. Ah, yes, another blue fragrance. Dior Savage, the Eau de Toilette. Ambroxan, bergamot, pepper, both black pepper and Sichuan pepper, and lavender are some of the notes in the fragrance. Now, I know Dior Savage still gets hated on, but this is one of the biggest fragrances that has come out in the past probably 15 or 20 years. I can still remember when this very first released, and the internet was just flooded with people crapping on it, just dunking all over Dior Savage, saying Christian Dior has lost their way, nobody's going to support Dior anymore, this is garbage, this is nothing but a cash grab, etc., etc. And I remember thinking to myself at the time, wow, that fragrance must suck. It must be so bad because everyone is just hating on it. It's got to be terrible. And I got a magazine in the mail. It might have been like GQ or something like that. I wasn't even subscribed to it. I just had a subscription. I think because of orders placed at FragranceNet, they used to sign you up for magazine subscriptions. Thanks, I guess. So I got it in, and one of the ads in the middle of the magazine was Dior Savage. And it had one of those little flaps that you lift up and you could smell the fragrance or something similar to the fragrance. So I lift it up, Johnny Depp is right there staring at me all weirdly in that Savage ad that everybody knows, and I smell it. And I just think to myself, this is going to be super popular. This is going to be everywhere. It was one of those things, just the second I smelled it, I knew that was a hit. That is just gonna be a massive compliment puller, attention grabber. Everybody's gonna buy that stuff. And I went the next day, I think, to my local mall and I paid full retail for this bottle. Yeah, it's not the most artistic thing on earth. I get that, or at all. But if you want a fragrance that 99% of people are gonna like, that's it. And yeah, you can mess that up if you wear it too heavily. You spray it on 20 times because Savage is a good performer. It's not going to be good. Spray it on too many times, people are going to get headaches. But as long as you don't do that, people will love it almost universally. And as more people smelled that, obviously more people bought that and wore that. And now it's one of the most loved fragrances out there. Maybe still not in the fragrance community, but in terms of your average everyday guy, absolutely. Up next, Varvatos Oud from John Varvatos. This is another one that I actually put off buying a little bit because I was looking up reviews when this first came out. A lot of people were hating on it and it made me antsy. So I put off buying it for quite a while, actually. People at the time were saying that it's just another terrible oud fragrance. Now, you have to keep in mind that when this came out, pretty much every designer house was going through an oud phase, if you want to call it that. Every single house was coming out with their own oud fragrance at the time. So while right now you have houses coming out with blue fragrances, back then they were coming out with oud fragrances. People were making fun of the scent itself, saying how derivative it was, how boring it was. They were making fun of the bottle because if you've never held this bottle in your hand before and you see this, it looks like it might be metal, like this really nice chain link over the glass, but it's plastic. And yeah, it does cheapen it a little bit. I remember when I did finally order it and I got it in my hand, I was thinking to myself, yeah, it's not the greatest looking bottle, but the fragrance itself is a great designer oud, It's got incense, rose, oud, tobacco, and honestly, too many notes to list, just a mess load of them. And one thing that Varvatos does well, one of the things Varvatos does well, is fall and wintertime fragrances. Warmer fragrances, especially those centered around leather or tobacco, Varvatos does those very well. And this one's no different. This is a fantastic designer oud fragrance, much, much better than people initially let on. And really, most of the hate was just people being annoyed that there was another oud fragrance coming out. That's pretty much it. All right, time for the last one, and this may or may not surprise you. This is one of the better selling fragrances out on the market today. It's Versace Eros, the original eau de toilette. Mint, apple, vanilla, and tonka, some of the notes in the fragrance. When this first came out, lots of people were saying it was just too sweet. Just a horribly synthetic, sweet bomb of a fragrance that was unwearable because it was just too chemically. That seemed to be the go-to diss for this fragrance. People just saying, oh, so gross, so sweet, no way I could wear that anywhere. And like has happened with pretty much all the fragrances here, as more people smelled it, they went into their local store, sprayed it on, more people started to realize this fragrance actually works really well for me. So Eros is going to wrap up this list of fragrances that when they first came out were hated on and dunked on and trashed. And then as people actually smelled it, more people I should say, they started to be loved. All right, guys, that's going to do it for me. As always, thanks for hanging out with me today. Thanks for all your support. Stay safe out there. I will see you tomorrow with another fragrance video. See you guys.